It could be the stint that actually wins you the race at the end if it carries on like this.
I mean, it's still, a lot of the race to go, so a lot can still happen. And we've seen that other cars can also put in one hell of a lap time and, also go consistency as long as, the traffic plays with them. It's just, in general, very difficult, especially now in those wet conditions when the race line, of course, gets a lot drier than the rest of the track. Then getting into the Porsche curves, it's almost impossible going around, the outside that we could do before. Because these LMP1 cars, they just have so much grip in comparison to GT cars and the GT3s. You can just drive around them if you get the proper line and gain so much time if you just hit it properly, but also lose.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like, if I can recall correctly, I think every team in the P1 has run into problems. I'm going to try and find out in a short while what has happened to the number 11 satellite racing car, but I think everybody's had a little bit of problems and you found yourself back at the front. Is there anything you want to add, Jimmy?
I won't say too much because, of course, we've suddenly gone into night time and back into day. That's normal. Don't worry about that. It's a very small day-night cycle here. But all I can really say, Nico, is just to extend the congratulations that I think that we all think you deserve. It's a fantastic drive out there, of course, and to see you grow as a driver over the course of how long it's been very rewarding. I hope you continue to go the right way and don't become evil like myself. Any sponsors, any shout-outs you want to make before we let you go?
Well, yeah, at this point again, to Alejandro Fernandez and Alejandro Fernandez Designs for making this car, at the very last moment, basically. And, actually, I'm just a guest driver, so I'm not quite too familiar with everything in the team yet.
I think what we meant to say is thank you to Undercover for having me along. And, again, Nico, great to have you up on stage. We wish your team the best of luck for the rest of the race. I'm sure we'll probably speak to you a bit later on as well.
Thank you very much, guys, and thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
That was Nico Hillebrand from Undercover Simracing, currently your leaders in the LMP1 class, and just making their way through GT traffic as well as they come on to their 103rd lap, over the 100 lap marker. We're approaching our 6th hour of racing completed, which means there'll be about 2 more hours of us on the broadcast, and we'll be going into our nighttime stint. Chris, did you spot anything on the time whilst we were having our interview there with Mr. Hillebrand?
Well, no. I mean, one thing I've really just been looking out for is to see who's come into the pits. Hyder's been in, as is the number 11 satellite car, which you were pointing out. Rare came in as well, as did Simtech and Burst eSport. Now, picking up on what you said about Viaducton, I did pick them up, of course, during the ad break in the garage, and that means they've now lost the lead of the GT3 class to ID SimSport. So we'll keep an eye on what happens in that class. Of course, we've mentioned a few times that nothing has really happened in that class, but all of a sudden it seems to be on for the lead there. Track wetness, on another note, is now down to 69%, so it's coming down just a little bit, but it is still wet out there, even though the rain hasn't fallen for a while.
We find ourselves in a bit of a unique position now, Chris, because the drivers are essentially in unknown territory. The track is getting drier as we go along, but it does mean that they have to then make the call, when do we go back to slick tyres? And even when they go back to slick tyres, there will only be a quite narrow, dry line for them to race on. Outside of that is the wet part of the track, which is always a little bit scary, especially if you catch it going through a fast part of the course, such as the Porsche curves. We're actually going to go on board, I think, now with our currently now 2nd place GT3 team, Viaducton. Of course, they have been leading pretty much the entire race up until their one instant, now down into 2nd position behind ID SimSport, but I very much believe they'll be back on the back of the leaders before long. Coming across the start-finish line now in the Corvette, Callaway Corvette C7, very much noticeable by the rear wing and how it drops off towards the end. Coming up now towards the Dunlop chicane, you see having to walk the car to the inside, very tentative with the throttle. You can see, or you can usually see when we have the standings up in the bottom left-hand left-hand corner throttle inputs and what the car is doing. Currently you can see myself and Chris. Say hello to the camera, Chris. There you go. Chris is very pretty on camera. It's why we keep him around. Coming now down to the Forest S's. Nice and easy through here. You can kind of see the rotation of the car is happening a lot from the rear, so a lot of oversteer at the moment on these intermediate tyres. Important though not to heat him up too much, otherwise you may end up sliding off. And saying that, with a P2 car scythe past on the inside there up to Church Rouge, and here comes another, that's a P1 car, so one of the satellite cars. And you can see when a car pulls in front straight away, Chris, the spray. You were saying before, you've had the pleasure of driving in the wet in your karts, and it's just about, you pretty much just drive at the spray when you have quite a few cars in front of you. You're lucky not as severe here, but still fairly scary in real life, I imagine.
Oh yeah, very scary. Particularly when you start a race, you basically just can't see where you're going. But it can get pretty bad, of course, when you're heading somewhere down like the Mulsanne Straight. But Viaducten are quite a distance back from ID SimSport now, who are leading the GT3 class, who have done more stops as well. The gap is around 2 minutes and 50 seconds, and considering they'd led pretty much all of the race, whatever happened to them is caused quite a few issues for them. So back to our overall leaders. Undercover Simracing are still leading there by 23 seconds. Now, last time round, Undercover Simracing were about 3 seconds quicker. Looks as if at this stage, Endurance Racing are dealing with the conditions the best. They're putting in some really good lap times at the moment, down there in 5th place, but they have a lot of ground to make up. Now, Rare Endurance are one we need to keep an eye on, actually. Let's see if we can find them. Just going to pop down. Here we go. So this is a battle for 4th in the P2 class. In front of us is the Pro Sim team. We are on board with the Rare Endurance team, who are just trying to make the move now. As we head down straight, we've got a back marker approaching, which is just coming up at the wrong point as we go into Mulsanne. So there we get a view of how frustrating the spray can be. And on the exit there, Pro Sim will pull over to the right to lap the GT car to our left, and going past as well is the Rare Endurance team. So the battle for 4th place. Rare Endurance closed in by around 15 seconds on the last lap, so clearly there are some problems from Pro Sim, and now we have a battle on.
Pro Sim pitted, I think, on the last lap there, Chris, hence why Rare have pulled right up to the back of them now. You might notice on the top right hand of your screen, we do finally have some timing up for you guys as to how long is left in the race. In fact, our race organisers were so keen to do more racing around here, they added 2 hours to it initially, saying that it was 19 hours left of the race. I had to go, excuse me, we've been up here for a while already, don't be making us do more. So just under 18 hours left of this race, and as you can see, all hotting up here, the battle for 4th and 5th in the P2 class. Coming up to the Porsche curves now. The thing is now, overtaking offline gets very scary. Dry lines where all the grip is. You try go offline around there, you'll find yourself sliding before you know it. So the Rare Endurance team are going to be very patient if they want to get this pass made.
Yeah, in these conditions, you really need to be careful. Obviously, you've got to understand how much grip you have got online and how much grip you won't have offline. So maybe use the slipstream effect going down Mulsanne. Maybe the best option in this event.
Yeah, I think you're probably correct there, to be honest. And the Rare guys been a little bit impatient beforehand when coming to overtake like this. Got a little bit robust, not really needed, in my opinion. Here we go then. Better traction coming out of the Ford chicane now, side by side. Looks like a done deal to me. Coming up towards the Dunlop chicane. There it is. Rare move up into P4. Just better traction there out of the chicane. Thank you very much. Another position there for Reno. Oh no, sorry, is it Reno? Yeah, Reno is still in the car, so there you go.
Yep, so 4th place, but IRDK are around 40 seconds ahead of this fight. They must have just gone into the pits as well, because their last time was 3:55. But Rare Endurance, who came in perhaps just a little bit earlier into the pits a little bit earlier than others, are starting to benefit from that strategy now. They're just starting to move up the P2 order. 4th place for them. Let's see if they can perhaps pick up one more and get themselves onto the podium.
So the track is getting drier all the time. The racing line is currently at 21% wetness, according to our little gauge here, which means that we'll be getting soon probably in the window for slicks again. However, the rest of the track, the off-track line, is still incredibly wet. If you get onto there, you're going to be sliding off, so it becomes a bit of a gamble. Nick, again, as someone who doesn't seem to ever want to get out of endurance racing, we can't seem to get rid of you. This is a tricky decision to make. How do you make it? When do you go to those slick tyres?
Obviously, you have to have done some work before the event happens to understand where the crossover point is and where you can actually come in and change to slick tyres. I know a little bit about this, and I think we're going to talk around the 40% mark. That's your crossover point. Obviously, you still got to take into consideration the offline wetness, but the grip will come to the drivers, and there is a point where they're going to switch. And if we look at the minute, we're still some way off at 69%. I think the magic number will be 50%, and from then on, they'll be checking out how quickly it does dry up. But I would say if between 40% and 50% will be the crossover point to go back onto slicks.
Well, right now, Nick, we're on 21% on the dry line. So
race line, yep, the race line wetness is 21, offline wetness is 69. So you've got to be careful. The 21% is within, but obviously if you go offline, you are going to suffer.
Yep, definitely. Of course, going offline around here usually means a nice quick trip to the barriers, not usually one you don't really forget. And as I say that, look, it is raining once more here at Le Mans, so that throws strategy right up in the air, and I can already hear the collective groaning of the team members around. Whilst the teams try and get their heads around yet another rain shower, did you manage to find out anything, Nick, about what happened to the satellite car in your travels?
It wasn't just one event, it was a number of events, unfortunately. Do you want? Yeah, we've got Eric. It's just as we were about to speak, we've got Eric to come up, and he can actually explain exactly what went on in the.
He's very well trained, Eric. He comes when he's cool, which is good. Unlike
my timing is uncanny.
This is
my driving.
Right. It's the American thing.
I tell you what, Nick, I'll give this to you, seeing as you're very well familiar with Eric. Let us know what happened then.
Yeah, I'll leave it to Eric, and he can tell exactly what went on. And I think it happened over about 2 or 3 laps. But if you can start and go back to the original event, which included yourself with that GT3 and what was missed, and then we can go fast forward to when Adam was in the car, because they're all related.
Well, we won't go all the way back, right? It's kind of a calamity of errors that happened over a course of 4 laps that really puts us where we're at. We sped on pit road on pit entry. You know, I think there's that simple thing that sometimes it catches you off guard with a car that's this powerful. You know, we got down to 70K thinking that was enough. It was, yeah. So 10K over yields us a drive-through or stop and go. I forget which one it was.
Drive-through for that one, for speeding on pit lane.
Yeah. Then we ended up getting a cut, which unfortunately tripped us over the cut limit. And on that same lap, we had a spin down at the hairpin because we had a brake pedal issue, which we've been dealing with kind of this weekend, where the brake pedal's actually moving a little bit on us in terms of the actual rigidity of our rig is coming into question, I would suggest. And so we've got pieces of shims and cardboard right now trying to balance something and keep it as rigid as possible. And so what happened was essentially is that shim came loose. The pedal area flexed, and with a load cell pedal, we weren't able to put as much pressure down on the pedal as we would normally, which basically screwed us into the braking zone. And so that led to a pretty large time loss, and then we ended up getting penalized with our second warning for contact with a GT car on exit of a corner.
Yeah, so it all happened within a space of 3 to 4 laps, you said. obviously understand, and I know the quick fixes that you're trying to do this morning. So you're saying that fix that you put in place all morning, really.
It seems to last for 4 hours.
Trying to fix lasted all of 4 hours.
Yeah, so we've done it again, so we expect another 4 hours out of it, right? And it's just a matter of frankly, when's it gonna go, and can the driver adapt to the situation to allow
the thing basically is, you can't let it try and affect you mentally, because you've just got to drive your race. And
exactly. Yeah, you just hope it doesn't happen at the end of a big braking zone like the hairpin, the Mulsanne hairpin, right? That's
the last place you want it to happen, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
But there's a long way to go still, obviously.
Well, that's the plus side, right? I mean, I'd rather have these issues early in the race because it's easier to overcome. You saw what happened to Undercover. I mean, clearly they've got incredible pace, so it's a little bit easier on them, but there's so much race left.
Yeah, there's obviously Undercover, as you mentioned, have really shown exactly what you can get out the car. But yourselves, number 11, have been there for a long time as well. Everybody has had issues, so it's a case of like carry on. There's a lot to play for, and I'm sure the number 11 will get themselves back in. But saying that, Antonio had got in the car, had issues. He's now found himself in second in class.
That kid is quick. So I actually, this is the first race weekend where I've really kind of spent some time with Antonio. Honestly, I mean,
he's quick.
He's quick.
Yeah, and he's good guy. I want to get him up here because he's so bubbly, and he's got everything about him. It's great to see him part of this effort, and I've loved meeting him and seeing the character that he's got, and the pace is pure.
Is it raining again?
Yes, it's raining again. Yeah, so thanks very much, Eric. It's great to have you up here. If you could send Antonio up when he gets out the car, it would be brilliant to have him up and show what kind of character he is.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Okay, well, thank you very much for Eric for joining us. Of course, rain coming down hard here at Le Mans once more, but we're going to go for a quick ad break. Stay tuned. I'm sure the action will follow after this break.
We live in a world where we often forget the consequences of our overconsumption. At Refurb, we want to change that particular habit, which is why we purchase large amounts of used, quality computers from companies and subsequently restore and reuse them. When we receive the computers, we perform data deletion, renovate, and test them to make sure they are once again like new. Many have already realized that you can save a lot of money without compromising, simply by reusing. Get more for less and be the positive change by reusing.
So Next Level Meal is a meal replacement. So if you've ever heard of Soylent or one of those other products, the idea is that instead of eating a meal, you drink it or you eat a bar. That's what Next Level Meal is. The difference being that it actually tastes good. For me, I use Next Level Meal when I'm traveling or when I want to replace the worst meal that I'm going to eat in a given day. And the reason that I'm excited about this particular food is because its basis is real food.
With so much of my life stored on my PC, I can't afford to take any chances. That's why I choose Kaspersky Antivirus to help keep me safe. It protects me from viruses and spyware without slowing me down. My PC keeps performing as it was designed to, and nothing gets in my way. Get award-winning protection for your PC. Kaspersky Antivirus.
How do you feel when someone is looking over your shoulder? Not all snoopers can be seen. Cyber criminals can steal your sensitive information. Hackers can intercept your data on public Wi-Fi. But not with the NordVPN app. It helps protect your privacy by encrypting your online data, and it's so easy to use. NordVPN, your shield from online snoopers. Download and enjoy trusted internet security and privacy.
Connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
So things go from bad to worse for Lithium Motorsports. During the break, their pit stall was taken up by Hyder. They lost a lot of time, and then this happened down at the Mulsanne corner. Just could not get the car slowed down, got onto the wet surface, and round they went. A very lazy spin in full. Luckily able to get out of the gravel after that, but really not having a good time, the guys at Lithium. Back up to speed now, but yeah, the rain coming down very hard here at the moment. Unfortunately, we don't have our timing up, so we can't give you any percentages or positions or timing or pretty much anything at this point, unfortunately.
My job is quite useless here in front of the timing screen at this stage, so
It never useless.
I'm going
Just
to bed,
smile and look
basically.
Sorry, I'll rephrase that. Just smile and try to look good.
He does his best. He can't quite manage it.
Yeah.
But I'm told...
anyone with a towel, by the way?
I've got one. You can always borrow mine. Anybody with a towel, a spare towel within the arena, if you come front and centre, Chris would be very happy with that. He would love to have a towel so he can get a shower in between the breaks.
So here we are then, guys. The Endurance eRacing World Championships Towel Edition. I'm glad we can bring you in here. We are a long way into this race now, actually nearly at the 6.5 hour mark. It feels, doesn't feel like it's actually been that long. Usually when you do these events, the time goes fairly slowly because you're busy commentating and going from there. But up here with my boys, Chris McCarthy and Nick Newcomb, it's been a very fun race to commentate on so far. If you've missed any of the action, don't worry, we still have a long time yet to go in this race. Your current leaders of LMP1 are still the Undercover Sim Racing team, but I think they've just been temporarily overtaken by the guys in Satellite, who are now actually in the pit stop. We just see in the background there, as we had a camera on the Satellite Racing guys, that the rare Team RRC, Porsche, was just pulling out of the pit lane. Now, actually, Nick, we've just had a change for the lead. I think your guys from the 64 Satellite have actually gone ahead of the Undercover Racing. They're coming out the pits now and back up to speed, and Satellite are back into the lead. How did that happen?
Is it the 64?
It is.
It's 64. Well, Antonio's had to come back from quite a big deficit, hasn't he? Because they did run into trouble. They've had a couple of incidents earlier on in the race, but Antonio, as Eric said, is a fast kid.
You say that, he just nearly went off coming down.
I saw that.
Yeah, the S's there, so speaking a bit too soon, I think.
Yeah, but he's obviously just come out the pit, so the tyres are warming up. He's doing quite a long pit stint. Obviously, I said Antonio is one of the guys that actually likes to drive at this time of the night, and he will be in that car for quite a while. Even if he does get out and hand over, he will be getting back in. He won't be waiting a couple of stints.
He must be on the wet tyre now. Must surely have gone to the wet from Inter, given that the rain is just continuously coming down at this point. I don't really know. Eric,
the car just gone off in front of him there at the Mulsanne chicane. The BMW went round in front of him. Antonio was able to check back and go through.
Well, we're just finding out here what tyres everyone's on. I think we've got a bit of an update.
Yeah, full wets. People are on now. We just grabbed Eric while he was close. I saw his face drop as we mentioned his name again. Oh, God, these guys again. What do they want? But yeah, full wet tyres now all around. We did see one of the BMW GTEs go off in the background. Now, unfortunately, we didn't catch who it was. I would love to tell you. Unfortunately, our timing is down. Luckily, we have a capacity crowd here tonight to keep us happy. We've got Coin and two lovely ladies there to the right. Give us a wave. No, they don't speak English. Fantastic. Okay.
Sellout. Absolute sellout.
Well, Coin's all you need in the audience. Coin, give us a wave. Coin gave us a wave. There you go. That's enough.
Thanks. Thank you, Coin.
Now we have Peter back down on the. I'll say that. Sorry, before we go to Peter, you have an update on something?
Yeah, I've got an update. We have a protest involving Undercover and the Endurance Racing team.
What's going on?
There's a protest in. I'm not sure the full details, but a protest has gone in from Undercover. Yeah, car just gone. We're seeing that way, just gone around. Porsche Undercover, Porsche GTE has just gone around. But the P1 car have filed a protest against the 88 Endurance Racing team.
Well, because the drama then going on behind the scenes, we don't really know what is that the protest is for at this point. Hopefully, we'll get an update on that from one of our race stewards at some point. Now, I do know that we do have a camera set up in the sim room. I'm not sure if Peter wants to go to that or not. Now, we'll give you an idea what it has. It's actually on screen. You can see it there. And now I went into that room just before I came back from the break here, and I just thought it was a terrific irony of a sports hall being filled with a room full of nerds. I was like, yes, this is fantastic.
We have took over the world, or at least Middelfart.
This is ours now. One step at a time, Middelfart first, then the world.
Middelfart first, then the world. Then Denmark, then the world.
But you might look at it and go, this looks, it is just a dim room filled with the glare of monitor, but there's a slight niceness to it.
I was going to say, let's remember what Middelfart stands for, and then
Middle journey, yeah.
Yeah. So look, this is the journey to taking over the world, my friends. We have to go to Middelfart on our way there.
More and more monitors, and there's now a man in the audience headbutting a child with a helmet. I'm not making this up at the moment. going to just actually come away from that and come back to our stream. I think it's
he
got to,
genuinely won't stop.
it's got to silly hour now. I think here in the middle part, and
It looks like the Stig in a tracksuit.
we're going to try and get a camera on that. I think because just so you know, we aren't actually going insane. This is actually happening right now. There's a fight going on between
Fight!
He's actually just trying to kick the young man.
between a budget version of the Stig and a child. Can I get a camera on
Can
it?
we-
No,
can we
that's
get
us.
No,
Sus.
no. Oh
We've
no!
got a-
Oh no!
There he is.
The
Where?
199 ID
Go on.
sim sport
Round
is just
two.
spam.
Round two.
I think the guys.
Oh!
Take that.
Right.
Oh, now it's round 2 when the kid has the helmet on.
Headbutt him. Nut him.
You're not condoning violence by any chance, are you, Chris?
There's definitely a race going on. We'll be honest with you right now. Okay, that was
There's got to be a
interesting.
fight of some sort. An endurance race, isn't there?
On track.
That's not exactly what you expect from a Newcastle fan. There's got to be a fight
Yeah,
at some
couple
point.
of Newcastle.
Excuse me.
I'm sat in between Newcastle fans right now, so that probably wasn't the wisest thing to say.
But there's got to be someone punching a horse, basically, if it's a load of Newcastle fans.
You're lucky that we actually got a point today. 0-0 away to Southampton. Thank you very much. Or you would have been off your chair.
I saw the headline. Apparently, it was one of the worst games ever.
I can believe that.
Our best shot on target was nearly at the corner flag. So, should we go back to a race?
I think we should go back to the race. Let's just go into general conversation, which isn't bad every now and then. But I tell you what, hello, Satellite Racing, getting very close and friendly with one of the P2 cars coming up towards Indianapolis. 64 car there. Actually, I'd say pulling away somewhat from the undercover car, sideways coming out of the second half of Indy there. There's a time and a place for drifting, and Le Mans in the wet is not one of those places, I'd say, coming through our Arnage now. The rain is really heavy right now, and I'd love to tell you just what sort of conditions these guys are dealing with aside from wet weather. We tend to have a percentage here on RF2, but unfortunately our live timing is being a little bit of a diva and not responding at all. Still waiting for that to come back up. When it does come back up, we will keep you up to date with that. But right now, still watching a 64 satellite car traverse, I think would be the best way of putting it, these conditions as he comes through the Porsche curves. The gap between him and the undercover car behind, only a couple of seconds now. It's visually within range. We'll actually go on board with the undercover car and let you know what he's seeing. You can see just through the top there of the wheel arches, the intermediate, the full wet tread now on those tyres. The only way to go now, Nick, you can't be in any other tyre in these conditions.
No, you can't be on intermediates or even think about it. It's got to be full wets. The state of the track and the weather conditions. It seems to be coming down quite strong, and it's been a more lasting downpour than the previous rain shower we had. And undercover, although driving a steady race, they're still pushing, entering Porsche curves. He really did a jump on that P2 car to make sure that he was in front of the P2 car before they got into Porsche curves. Have we got a protest finished? Have we got the answer to that or not?
That's what I assume we're looking at.
I don't know.
I don't think we have yet. Well, what I'll do is I'll probably actually go have a chat with... actually, no. You are roving reporter, Nick.
Yeah.
Have a chat, see what
On your
information
bike.
you can get out of race control. Give him a Mountain Dew or something, that'll sweeten him up.
I'll take my Mountain Dew with me, and that will give me strength to go back.
And just cutting out there.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
great there. So undercover racing, you can see just
Can you
ahead
sort
here.
live timing out as well? Get that sorted.
You can see just ahead, Chris, the spray and the lights just about of the car in front coming down to the first Mulsanne chicane. These guys still doing in excess of 330, 340 k's, and off goes the satellite car. This could be a change for the lead there. Doesn't get the braking right into the first chicane. Very easy to do that. No ABS here, and of course we've heard the satellite guys complaining of issues with their brake pedal. This is, however, the 64 car, not the 11 car. Here comes the 888 undercover. It's going to slipstream past in a straight line. Makes it look as easy as that. As we come down to the second Mulsanne chicane, we'll go on board with the Satellite Racing 64 to give you their driver's eye, and that's it. Undercover back into the lead after a brief spell in second place. That's how you do it in the wet.
Well, you've got a couple of the undercover guys down here. I don't know if they would fancy joining us or not, but Why not? Jimmy, why don't you go and see if you can summon any of them?
We're already one down. We'll stop sending off commentators into the field until we have one back, I think. But yeah, you can see that the satellite guys not giving up here on the Treble 8 Undercover. I think they still have the pace. Of course, now they have the slipstream. Now they have the upper hand in that device. So they should be able to pull onto the back of that Treble 8 car. Whether they'll have enough speed to get past is another matter, of course. And with this rain lashing down on the windscreen, makes things very tricky to see out the front of this 700 horsepower LMP1 car. Get that into your head. 700 horsepower through the rear wheels in these conditions.
Scary, yeah, very difficult as well, of course, to drive that and keep it going round in a straight line as more people running over to race control. So something else possibly has happened out on circuit. We can't tell you what it is because we have no live timing. Our use at this stage is oh yes, here we go.
Live timing fairy has heard our pleas, and we have live timing back again. I can tell you right now that the track wetness on the line is 85%. So right now we're almost as slippy as the track can be, and these guys are still lapping around. We'll have to wait till our next times come up, but they're still lapping. I think we're in about the 3:30 range, 3:40 range. It's got a 3:48 last lap from Satellite Racing. You can see just about on screen now. Race control there down to the bottom right. Our adoring fans and the audience were completely just bypassed, and we've gone straight to race control. Sorry guys, you're not wanted on stream, I'm afraid. It happens to the best of us. But there is race control just to the right. They are literally just to the right of us at the moment, and usually there's a big queue for race control, and people tell them to go away at the same time. And here's us now. Hello. We're on stage now. Look at that. Look at this beautiful man in the front of your picture.
I know. Thank you.
Talking about me,
yeah.
sorry.
Oh yeah, no, I was going to say, tell me something I don't know. Let's go back for the lead. Yeah, 1.2 seconds between them. Shall we go through the order? As well, for about 20 laps, we didn't know what was going on. Undercover Sim Racing leading the way by just over a second from Satellite Racing. Team RRC are then in third place. Satellite Racing, fourth. Endurance are then in. Then we have Simtech Racing, sixth place, leading the P2 class. Hyder Esport, second in that class. Of course, they had that little issue with lithium in the pits. Rare Endurance are third, IRDK fourth, ProSim fifth. Then it is ID SimSport and Lithium on their recovery. Hyder Esport lead the GTE class from Real Esport. The two teams, that is the 919 kart, the higher up of the two. Burst Esport are fourth, then it's Simtech Pink, Undercover Sim Racing, ID SimSport, DGTL, 8th place, Team Bernie Racing on 9th. Into the pits and 10th is Simtech. Then we have Runtime Burst Esports in 23rd and 11th in class. 12th in class is then Burst Esport. Then it's Gap SRT, ID SimSport, Rare Endurance Team, Team RRC, Via Dupton now back into the lead of the GT3 class. Brilliant recovery there. Back ahead of ID SimSport. Then it was B32 Racing, Azatec Academy, Black Devil Racing not had the best of days. They are 33rd at the moment, and I believe they're just coming into the pits. Well, Nick is back from his travels. Let's see what he has just found out for us.
Yeah, it looks like we were given a little bit of information that was okay. Undercover protested a penalty that they were given, and the protest was going to be successful, but they'd already served it. So they were fine. We're just trying to get a couple of the drivers up. I'm sure Enzo will come up if we ask him nicely. We've got an undercover driver coming. Yeah.
Well, look, I think we're getting undercover up, are we? Oh, no, they're quite simply running away.
He turned right. Right, said Enzo's still there. Enzo Farzi, you gonna? Oh, he shakes his head. No. These guys, really?
Come on.
Wait. He said be right back, I think.
Did he?
BRB.
If he's not back in 5 minutes.
BRB. Yeah. So Undercover got a cut track and protested, but by the time the protest was answered in a positive form, they'd already served the penalty. So we've got action on track, have we? We've got some timing that we need to look at?
No, we're just looking at the offline track wetness is now at 100%. So if you go offline, you're going into the barrier, basically.
You
is what's
have no
going on.
chance.
Yeah, you're going to go have a very sad time indeed. We're currently watching the Undercover guys getting held up a little bit through the S's. Now, the Satellite guys were right on them, but they've dropped back significantly now, the 64 car.
Yeah, the gap, he was around 2 to 5 seconds, 25 seconds, and then it's opened up to 30 seconds now. So, and we still have the former leaders, number 11 Satellite Racing, down in 5th, 3 minutes down from Klaus Karg, who's actually back in the 88 Endurance Racing Team car, with 77 Team RRC sitting in 3rd, Satellite 64 in P2. In overall lead, we have the 888 Undercover Simracing Team with Devin Braun back in for a second stint.
Okay, now we do have a undercover driver coming up onto the stage now. We'll let Nick get him accounted, and then we'll go from there. And just as we say that, I think it's actually the driver of the car we're looking at right now, the Undercover Sim Racing, just being overtaken by one of the BMW GTE cars. That is the ID Sim Sport car, I think, going past, coming down to the Mulsanne corner. Just a straight line there, slipstream and pass, nice and easy. So coming down into 6th position in class, but the M8 goes a little bit wide there and exit the Mulsanne, and now the Porsche is allowed back into the slipstream. This fight is not over yet. We'll come back. We'll come to you guys very shortly. We'll just stay with this fight just for now. It looks like the slipstream proving beneficial for the Porsche. Coming up now to Indianapolis. Not really a place you want to pass, especially when offline is so treacherously wet. You don't want to put a wheel outside of the semi-dry line, or you're going to end up probably facing backwards somewhere, like so many people already have been, Chris.
Yep, so it's still cutting up here between Undercover Sim Racing. We have one of the drivers from their team, Jonathan Provost, coming on stage. And now, Nick, have you just seen something there?
Yeah, number 4 Endurance. The Endurance Racing Team just came around, sitting in P4 at the time, and looped it on the Mulsanne corner.
Not been a great run for the Endurance guys since we had Klaus on stage earlier. I think his headache's got quite a lot worse since we spoke to him earlier on. I won't be surprised. But now, Nick, we'll pop over for an interview with Jonathan.
Yeah, Jonathan, how's it gone for you? You've actually got your premium wet driver in the car at the moment, I hear.
Yes, we got him just in time, thankfully. We were 1 lap short of our stint before he was, just exiting the Porsche curves. So straight out and straight in with our wet driver. 1 lap early, but straight in.
Here we go. This is something else that we've talked about. The night stint, the night driver, and now we have the main driver for wet series. So is that planned? Was that part of the team makeup, or was it just turned out that he was the good guy in the wet conditions?
In practice, he was the quickest in the wet, and then he was on for the. We were ready for the lineup with him, so we were going to go to anyway 1 lap earlier, but thankfully he's our wet and night driver as well.
Oh well, that's come in handy because you've got both conditions in one here. So altogether, how happy are you with the way the car's feeling, with the track, with traffic? And with the whole event as we stand, because it's something else, this event that we have here.
Good so far. This is my first endurance event at all. I've done a little bit of sim racing, but not much, nothing endurance side. So the traffic was a bit hit and miss at some points, but in my first stint, I was quite happy with it. Quite happy with the car, good setup, consistent. That's the main thing for us, but still quite quick.
Did you get a bit of a shock with the actual pace of the P1s as they came up on you? You thought, yeah, I've got a little bit of time coming into this turn, and next thing you know, they're onto you and taking the turn away from you.
Yeah, especially around the Porsche curves, when they're quite a long way back, and then suddenly they're on your left-hand side going out around the outside out of nowhere. It does creep up on you quite a lot.
Yeah, it's one of the main things, especially if it's your first real endurance event. It's a lot to take in, a lot to learn when you've got actually the P1, the P2, but then again with yourselves you've got the GT3s as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I had a few issues with some of the GT3s getting past them and them being predictable, but other than that we've not had any issues really. We had one where one of the LMPs hit us into the wall, unfortunately, just cutting too far forward, but other than that we've not had any issues, I don't think, with lapping.
That's good. I'm pleased that you're happy with everything's going in your first event. I hope you're going to do a lot more, and we'll see you on a lot of other series as well. Is there any sponsors you would like to mention, or any teammates?
The sponsors of the team, Undercover Racing, I'm really sorry, because I can see Carsten there. I cannot pronounce them, but thank you to the team sponsors anyway.
Oh, thanks very much. Maybe we can get Carsten up to mention all the team sponsors in the way that they should be mentioned. Yeah, so thanks very much, and hopefully we'll see yourself or another Undercover team very, very soon up on Have a Bit Chat. So thanks very much, and good luck with the rest of the event.
Thanks a lot, guys. Cheers.
Thank you, Jonathan, for joining us, and he's going to leave us now just in time for another ad break, so stay tuned.
So Next Level Meal is a meal replacement. So if you've ever heard of Soylent or one of those other products, the idea is that instead of eating a meal, you drink it or you eat a bar. That's what Next Level Meal is. The difference being that it actually tastes good. For me, I use Next Level Meal when I'm traveling or when I want to replace the worst meal that I'm going to eat in a given day. And the reason that I'm excited about this particular food is because its basis is real food.
How do you feel when someone is looking over your shoulder? Not all snoopers can be seen. Cyber criminals can steal your sensitive information. Hackers can intercept your data on public Wi-Fi. But not with the NordVPN app. It helps protect your privacy by encrypting your online data. And it's so easy to use. NordVPN, your shield from online snoopers. Download and enjoy trusted internet security and privacy.
Connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
With so much of my life stored on my PC, I can't afford to take any chances. That's why I choose Kaspersky Antivirus, to help keep me safe. It protects me from viruses and spyware without slowing me down. My PC keeps performing as it was designed to, and nothing gets in my way. Get award-winning protection for your PC. Kaspersky Antivirus.
We live in a world where we often forget the consequences of our overconsumption. At Refurb, we want to change that particular habit, which is why we purchase large amounts of used, quality computers from companies and subsequently restore and reuse them. When we receive the computers, we perform data deletion, renovate, and test them to make sure they are once again like new. Many have already realized that you can save a lot of money without compromising, simply by reusing. Get more for less and be the positive change by reusing.
Welcome back to the Endurance eRacing World Championships here at Le Mans GTR 24. The rain has finally stopped here and the drivers are given a brief respite while the track starts to dry. We're currently watching the 777 Undercover Simracing Porsche make its way through the Porsche curves for the 98th time of asking for this car. But at the moment, our leader is currently on lap 116, so getting well into the race now. We are nearly at 7 hours elapsed, and maybe we should go over a couple of highlights so far. I think I won't throw either of you under the bus so far. I'll start us off with my personal highlight of the race, which has to be Undercover Simracing, our current leader of the race. Only a couple of hours, about an hour or so into the race, they had about a 50-second lead over the rest of the competition. Had some sort of technical issue, lost a lap, went to the back of the P1 field and back halfway back through the Prototype 2 field, and have now clawed their way back into the lead and now have a 43-second advantage. I don't really understand how they're doing that.
Well, they've found something in the setup within the car that's given them the pace that obviously the other teams haven't got. And like you said, they had quite a major issue that dropped them right down, not just past the P1 field, but in amongst the P2 field when they got going again. But quickly and rapidly brought the lap times down, and they were actually putting in consistently the fastest laps within the P1 field, and just basically ran the show and back to where they were before they had the major incident that knocked them down the field. Consistently putting in good laps, and now we've got a 43-second, 44-second lead, and well deserved, because as we were seeing, and we had the guest Nicholas Hindebrand on earlier on, his lap times were absolutely epic, and certainly drove the car back to where it certainly deserves to be.
Now, we think, Nick, that while we were away at some point, or maybe during our interview, the rain claimed a victim, and that is one of the real esport cars from GTE. I've just noticed that Lasse Sorensen has taken over the one car that remains at the top flight in GTE. But meanwhile, down in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, where are they? They are down...
They had technical issues, I can tell you that.
Okay.
I was at the Undercover garage when they went at the time, and it was technical issues that caused their demise, sad to say.
A real shame for them. Unfortunately, we missed that live on stream, and as a result, they've lost a couple of laps now to their competitor. Oh, we actually have one of the real guys up here. Would you mind coming to have a quick word on the stage? We can talk about it quick.
Yeah, come up. Yeah, because, I mean, they were controlling the class 1 and 2, running a perfect strategy for a long, long time, but now first and the other team down in 9th place. But Nick's going to get set up with an interview, and we're going to find out exactly what's happened there. But looking like technical problems. But whilst that interview's getting set up, out front, Undercover Sim, Satellite, Team RRC, your top 3 in P1. P2, it's SimTech, Hyder Esport and Rare Endurance. GTE, Real Esport, Hyder Esport and Burst Esport. And GT3, Via Ducton, ID SimSport and B32. Nick, over to you.
Yeah, we're joined on stage by. Dylan, if you can just talk me through what happened. I happened to be at the undercover garage when they suddenly said, look, something's gone with a real esports car. Can you talk me through what actually happened?
Yeah, just before the 4 chicanes, there's a kink, and basically Michele was in the car and he said that he just lost it, and the car ended up outside the track, so we had to pull the cable.
So that's why, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, driver mistake there. And we'll talk about, if you could just quickly explain to the guys at home what you mean by pulling the cable. Of course, we know, but the guys at home might not.
Yeah, so the car ended up outside the track, meaning we couldn't physically drive it back on. So we had to pull the internet cable, disconnect the game, and then reload the game back into the server and then continue. Incidentally, when we continued back, the car loaded with soft tires, so we have to do a full lap on a fully wet track on softs.
So really bad to worse in that situation.
Pretty much.
So sorry to kind of hijack your interview there, Nick, but I was kind of wondering what comes next now. Just go round, hope for the best?
Pretty much, yeah. We just go around as fast as we can, try not to make any mistakes.
Yes. So we've got, is it your sister car still in front?
Yeah.
So we've got your sister car, the 919 in front. Haida Sim Sports making a move as well. In second place, 1 minute 59, well, 2 minutes behind. We've got the 29 Burst Esports car back up into P3, where they were earlier on in the race before they ran into their problems. And obviously, ID SimSport down in fourth, SimTech fifth. Yourselves are well down the order now after your problems. It's a shame, but Yuri Kazdob's in, and I'm sure he's going to try and do what obviously we've seen with the P1 Undercover Sim Sports car. So it's not all doom and gloom. You've got to just believe and have faith and just push yourself back.
Yeah, Yuri has a 2 times Le Mans winner in the Virtual Endurance Championship, so we have faith in him. He will get us up as far as he can.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure the rest of the race is going to go well. So thanks very much for coming up and explaining exactly what happened to your car. For those that may have just joined us, unfortunately the car ended up outside the track and had to be rejoined by a hard disconnect. And hopefully we'll see you back up there and fighting for at least a podium. I know it's going to be tough, but you've got to keep faith in that.
No, I think we can. There's a long way to go, and anything can happen to anyone else. So
exactly, yeah. It's great to have faith, and that's the main thing. Thanks very much for explaining everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Something happened to IRDK. I think literally just, we had a go out in the first sector, and I don't think IRDK were actually going into the pits. So I think they've had a small off, but it was only a brief trick off the track, if that's what's happened. Now, one battle I was picking up was SimTech Pink in 5th place in the GTE class, just closing in on ID SimSport gradually at the moment, but we'll monitor that gap. It's 6 seconds at the moment, but going 2 seconds a lap quicker, that could come down very quickly, and there they are on stream for you now. I'd say overall that's probably the closest fight in this race at the moment. The two teams split by less than 6 seconds, so it's 5.7 seconds the gap between the pair at the moment, and there we are now looking at the SimTech Pink team. Current lap times, let's give you an idea of what's happening. We're just going to get another team up onto the stage for interview, so Nick is going to prepare them for their interview. Whilst that's happening, I can tell you Satellite Racing are within 1 minute of Undercover Simracing. Well, I tell you, Endurance as well are about 8 seconds back from Team RRC, so that is definitely a battle worth keeping an eye on. And the SimTech Pink battle is monitoring at around, it's hovering, shall I say, at around 5.5 seconds. But we are getting someone in our guest chair, and while I say this, it's open to anyone. You can come up as many times as you want. If you've been up already, you can come back on. If you want to come up more than once, then you can do so. Oh, we've got a car slowing. We have got a car slowing there down the straight. Now let's see if we can find out who that was. Just going to flick through the... I think that is who we were. I think it's the Rare Endurance team who's had some problems. But whilst we're looking into this, Rare Endurance team in trouble. Nick, oh, and an incident. Yeah, big crash there. That's with one of the P1 cars that's had a crash with. So looks like big problems there for the Rare Endurance team. I don't know if they've actually gone off the track completely, which could mean, yes, look, they've had to go all the way back to the pits. So the Rare Endurance team hitting big problems there. Now, who was the team that collected them? Not too sure. Just trying to do kind of two jobs at once here, but I'll be able to pick that up next time we have them come across the line. I fear it might have been the Satellite Racing team, certainly from the glimpse of the livery I saw. That's what it looked like. But while I'm looking into this, we will actually hand over to Nick, who has someone with him. And before I do, I will just let you know, Endurance Racing have come into the pits, so there is a chance that they were the car caught up in that little crash. Nick.
Yeah, we're joined by Gert here from the ID SimSport 177. How's it going so far for the guys?
I pressed here. Yes, we started as a P12, and I think right now we are P5 or something like that. So yeah, it's going the right way.
Yeah, it's going the right way. You're going forward, and you're going up from where you started. So P5 from P12 is a really good, really good race for you so far. Did the rain catch you out? Did it affect exactly what you were planning to do tactics-wise?
No, we were so lucky. We had just changed driver. So and he is a very good driver in the wet. So we were very lucky that it fitted with our normal pit stop. So yeah.
So it fit within the pit window. So you didn't really lose anything. That's really good for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So how many drivers you got in the car? And
we are 3 drivers. Yeah, so we are switching some on and off. So
pretty quick. So really, you're not going to get much rest.
No,
the night,
no.
Though.
But
then again, that works for you in the sense that you're up to speed straight away. You haven't got a big gap between each stint, and so it's probably going to work in your favor.
Yeah, and maybe we take depending on the weather, because right now we are. But maybe one of the 2 drivers will take 3 or 4 stints. Normally we will change after 2 stints, but yeah, it's
do instead of doing the 1 stint, which could in fact be taking on 3 pit stops. So you could double that, and it wouldn't affect them skills wise. So yeah, you're going to be fresh every time you go in. You know, what do you do in between the stints? Are you straight into the garage having a look, keeping an eye on?
Yeah, normally in the night when we come later on, I will sit in maybe a half an hour after I have driven, and then try and get an hour or 1.5 hours sleep, and then up again. And so I always say at least 1 hour before I settle in the car, wake me up if I'm asleep. So when you are fresh when you settle in the car.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. So thanks very much for joining us, and hope the next stint we'll keep an eye out for when you jump in the car once more. And obviously, good luck for the rest of the race. Obviously, 12th to 5th is good. Obviously, your next target has got to be podium spot, hasn't it? Really?
We try. Always come here to win, but
yeah,
never happen.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you do what you can, the best position that you can. You always have a stretch target of maybe 1 or 2 spots above that, knowing that where you want to go.
Yeah.
You always have that stretch target that you'd like to get to.
You always try, so we see what happens. There's a long way to go yet.
Yes, definitely. You've got a lot of racing left to do, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
And, good luck to the rest of the guys. And,
thank you.
177 ID.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Nick. Now, you'll be able to see on the stream, I think we've got Jimmy going around with a camera. And at least we did. We're just working on that, but he's going around just filming people, basically, giving you a taste of what the event is like. So hopefully he doesn't get shouted at this time. Now there was an incident as Nick's going to move over and sit in his chair. I think it might have been Team RRC, you know, that actually actually got involved in that incident where we've seen one of the teams having to go back to the pits. It was ID Simsport. Saying that, I think, Jimmy, can you hear us? Let's have a look.
I can hear you just fine. Oh, I can hear me just fine. That's interesting.
No, we can
Hello,
see him
guys.
speaking,
Jimmy,
but
the roving reporter
Is
here.
he speaking to himself at the moment?
I can hear myself over the speaker, so it's all good. I think I'm coming over on the stream.
No, I don't think we
Otherwise,
can hear him. We'll try and fix that.
You're speaking.
Oh,
You're
I can
speaking
hear
to
myself
yourself,
up there. I'm on the
you
loudspeaker.
can hear him. Oh, there we go. Keep talking.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, we're going to pass over to Jimmy then for
Those
a tour
guys
of
can
the
go
paddock.
away. We're going to have a little walk around the paddock here at the GTR 24. Of course, you can hear the sound of lovely race cars or simulated race cars in the background. Now, I promised you guys earlier a look at the ID SimSport paddock, which is set up with about 1 billion trillion different monitors. We're going to walk over there now and see if we can have a chat with anyone. Probably not. This here is their ID SimSport banner. You see 4 cars entered under their banner. Say some of the guys just resting down in the bottom right here. There is Gert to start getting off his stint. Actually, I'm not going to try and talk to them. I think they're all having a little bit of a... Well, hello, guys. I'm going to try and be as quiet as possible this time because I tend to annoy these guys if I get a bit too close to the camera, as if last year. But you can see lots of screens up top. Each individual car has their own pit with telemetry for each car. How rad is that? And then, of course, we come round here. We have the Hyder Racing fellas. These are the guys leading in P2 at the moment, doing fairly well in GT. Hello, guys. You're now on the stream. We're going to talk to you a bit. How are things going? All good?
Yeah, we're just we got messed up a bit about the rain, so we're just trying to get back on strategy. But we're trying. We have enough screens to power everyone, so.
Well, I was going to say it looks pretty cozy in here. Have a little sleepover in here. You got a coffee machine back there. You didn't tell me. Oh, there's more back here. I'm not sure I'm going to come back from this or not. Oh, hello. More secrets behind the scenes here. I'm going to be a bit quieter behind it because they are talking to each other on the radio, I think. But again, they've got a complete sort of driver and telephone there as well. And the phone numbers there, guys. Make sure to copy and paste that. That's now on the internet. Good luck, guys. The next couple of days. Thank you very much for showing me around, Hyder. Good to see that. Here are the RRC guys, completed with coin and fantastic haircut there behind the scenes. Hello, Team RRC. They're all very deep in concentration, I think. They aren't going to talk to me. Hello, Hodge. Say hello. Hodge says no. Oh, okay. Thank you, Hodge. Appreciate that, mate. See, very friendly bunch here at the GTR 24. Some of the Corvette guys here. And some of the biggest pizza boxes you ever did see. There's my bed for the night. Hopefully someone give me... Oh, want to cuddle? Have a little cuddle later on, yeah? Okay, no? This looks a bit like a... Oh, this is Frog Gaming. Hey, Frog Gaming, how's it going, guys? Having a good race so far?
Oh yeah.
Oh, there's a game. I thought there was a screen up there, then.
It's P32 Racing.
P32 Frog Gaming. There you go, I knew that. I keep calling you guys Frog Gaming. Instead, they've got a little monitor down here as well as lots of party cups. Thank you, guys. Later on. Basically, it's just a mismatch of screens and people trying to sleep. Here's David Greco. It's time for the interview.
How's it going?
Fun down there?
yeah, fun. So, good. Yeah, well, I'm trying to sleep for like the past 3 hours, but I just can't sleep.
Jimmy,
oh yeah, man,
can you hear us? Jimmy, can you hear us?
Let's pop these guys back over to the broadcast now.
Can you hear us?
I can hear some people.
Can you go up to satellite? They've had an off.
Satellite.
Yeah.
Okay, we can go up to satellite. Okay.
64 car.
64 car. Okay. Oh, hello. So we've got Adam and Eric deep in conversation right now. We'll try and sneak round and not get in their way. Maybe not get in their way right now. Here is their behind the scenes here. Compared to some of the other crews, it seems a little bit almost budget. But bear in mind, these guys came all the way from the US. Got laptops and screens here to deal with the events. I really don't want to disrupt their conversation. You guys are kind of being... Now you're kind of half and half. I'm being a roving reporter. So I go, oh, Adam, how's it going?
That was terrible.
Yeah. Wow.
It's really wet and really dark.
But hey, we're alive. We're gonna keep going. Hey guys, that's the human spirit right there. We are alive and we're going to keep going. I mean, still got a long way left in the race. I mean, anything can happen at this point, surely.
I don't even know how long there is left in the race, honestly.
It's very small. There is a timer up there somewhere, letting you know just how long we have. It's around 17 hours or so at the moment, so nice, easy amount left. Yeah, all good. I got told to come over here. I'm not quite sure why. I'm going to come back now. I'm being summoned back to the box. Thank you, guys. And that was my very terrible roving report of the GTR 24 paddock. Back we come.
Thank you, Jimmy. I mean, I was actually calling Nick Rowland, to come up onto the stage. You can keep going if you want. Oh, and another off. Satellite off again. So, not too sure what's going on there, but Satellite have had 2 offs since Jimmy was off. Now, I wonder if they've got any kind of damage. Nick is going to set up for an interview with Nick. So there we go, the 2 Nicks together. That'll be fun.
You may think that.
Right, so Satellite Racing, they've had a couple of offs. Jimmy's woken someone up, and now we are going to go over to Nick to speak to himself. Nick.
Yeah, I'm speaking to Nick Rowland, the main man. Right, can you explain? Do you know what happened to the 64? Can you fill in?
Not really. I was literally just walking over and seeing that they've spun, so I'm not too sure. But Antonio, prior to that, has just done an amazing, 4 stints in a row, and he was leading for a little bit, but Undercover seems to have a slight pace advantage in the wet.
Yeah, it definitely looks like they were able to catch him up. But beforehand, that I mentioned earlier on when Eric was back up here, Antonio's pace was immense. But obviously we've seen earlier on, and we're seeing again now, Undercover's pace is pretty quick themselves. But the Satellites are doing a good show. We've had 11 doing well earlier on. We've had the 64 doing well quite now. What's the challenges that you're facing? Where are you thinking that you're going to end up here?
Not really too sure at the moment. I mean, these conditions are incredibly tricky. To drive in the wet at night, it's very tricky for all of us. So at the moment, to gain what we lost early doors is amazing. And the 11 are going to do the exact same thing, because when they're in the dry, they're incredible. So hopefully we'll be able to elevate ourselves back up. But Undercover, their pace and consistency is extremely strong.
Yeah, that obviously the problems that Antonio's led to endurance. With Devin Braun has actually opened up a now 1 minute 51 gap to your car, the 64 Satellite Racing. We've got Daniel in the car at the minute. So has this changed the plan? Was Antonio going to go a little bit further, maybe one more stint, or is...
Not really. Antonio's already done a heck of a lot of driving, and he's probably had the brunt of these conditions as well. I think it was time for a break. Daniel taking over, he's just had a bit of a sleep, so him taking over now is the right thing to do. So we just have to see how Daniel gets on now. I think he's probably just trying to adapt to the conditions, where other drivers are obviously a lot more used to it, especially Undercover and endurance racing. The double 8 car seems to have really good wet weather pace. They're like one of the strongest. So we'll see how we go. And Klaus in the car at the moment, so it's a
combination, isn't it? Yeah, you were mentioning the 88, and then obviously I knew that Klaus had just done the pit stop and had jumped into the car, so it's a pretty strong combination. So the 64 and the 11 car have got a lot of to put up with, and obviously the 77 Team RRC are having to make another comeback. So it's going to be a pretty big long fight through the night, and we'll see how it shakes up as daybreak comes in a few hours' time.
Going through the night is always the biggest challenge in any sort of endurance racing, whether it be sim racing, real racing, karting, whatever it may be. It's always the most difficult time, especially when it's wet. So these conditions now are the challenge for all of us. It's just a case of surviving through the night, I think, at this point, with the weather the way it is.
Yeah, definitely. So what do you think of this event and the whole layout? And it's certainly opened my eyes, as it certainly I bet it's opened yours.
Well, it's the first time I've done this event. I was at the Expo last month, Sim Racing Expo, and that was a massive eye-opener in itself. That was incredible, and this equally is incredible. The Expo was 10 rigs on stage, and this is all their own rigs here, and this is an amazing event to attend. It shows how sim racing generally is growing.
I can see Antonio there at the front of the stage.
He's exhausted. He's happy,
he
but he's
tired.
exhausted.
You can tell by the way he's walking. He's done a stint and a half. You just have a break, son. We will not bring you up here. Maybe later on. You have a break. You deserve it.
I gave him a hug and I felt the sweat. Believe me.
I can imagine. The smile's still there, so that's the main thing. Absolutely epic stint, Antonio. Epic stint. Anything else you want to add there, Jimmy, before we let him go? Yeah, so thanks very much, Nick. Good luck to the 64. And we'll keep an eye on it and see what's happened as the 64 enters the pit. So thanks very much.
Thanks very much, guys. Cheers.
Okay, so before we go to an ad break, a couple of things to update you on whilst that interview was going on. We had Endurance go off at Indianapolis, but they're still in third. And more importantly, ProSim, what we suspect was running out of fuel, but had to pull the plug, so to speak, and they are there in the pit lane. They were challenging for a podium in the P2 class, but now all of a sudden has turned on its head. They're now in 5th place and they're only going backwards. But we'll pick up more on that after this commercial break.
Connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
With so much of my life stored on my PC, I can't afford to take any chances. That's why I choose Kaspersky Antivirus to help keep me safe. It protects me from viruses and spyware without slowing me down. My PC keeps performing as it was designed to, and nothing gets in my way. Get award-winning protection for your PC. Kaspersky Antivirus.
So Next Level Meal is a meal replacement. So if you've ever heard of Soylent or one of those other products, the idea is that instead of eating a meal, you drink it or you eat a bar. That's what Next Level Meal is. The difference being that it actually tastes good. For me, I use Next Level Meal when I'm traveling or when I want to replace the worst meal that I'm going to eat in a given day. And the reason that I'm excited about this particular food is because its basis is real food.
We live in a world where we often forget the consequences of our overconsumption. At Refurb, we want to change that particular habit, which is why we purchase large amounts of used, quality computers from companies and subsequently restore and reuse them. When we receive the computers, we perform data deletion, renovate, and test them to make sure they are once again like new. Many have already realized that you can save a lot of money without compromising, simply by reusing. Get more for less and be the positive change by reusing.
How do you feel when someone is looking over your shoulder? Not all snoopers can be seen. Cyber criminals can steal your sensitive information. Hackers can intercept your data on public Wi-Fi. But not with the NordVPN app. It helps protect your privacy by encrypting your online data, and it's so easy to use. NordVPN, your shield from online snoopers. Download and enjoy trusted internet security and privacy.
Welcome back to the Endurance eRacing World Championships here at Le Mans, the part of the GTR 24 event. Not being a good couple of laps for ProSim, they did rejoin the race only to go off a lap later at Arnage, a little bit sideways, got it wrong into the wall. Luckily they're back up and running now, but have lost a lot of time, down to 5th in the P2 class. They were before fighting for a podium. Myself and Chris McCarthy here at the moment. Nick is, I think, off trying to find someone to rustle up to bring up onto stage, probably against their will. That's how we do things here up in the commentary booth. But for the drivers, the rain has stayed away for now. The track is slowly drying, but still very slippy out there, as the ProSim guys have shown us so far.
Yeah, we've got an off as well down in 23rd place for, I think that's Runtime Burst Esport, or at least going again now. Lithium had a bit of an off during the ad break as well. They went around at Indy, so they've lost a little bit of time.
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
That's an interesting one. The Runtime Burst Esport car just got onto the brakes coming into the first Mulsanne chicane and slipped into the right, tagged the wall. And I think they must have some sort of damage based on that. They seem to be tracking straight enough coming down the second half of the Mulsanne straight now, but that wasn't really ideal. I think maybe got wow behind. What happened there? The Porsche behind that looked like a technical failure. It went straight into the wall. Who was that?
I think that might be Burst Esport.
I think it might have been Rare, because it was a Porsche there. It was the number 33 Rare car, again in the walls. I need to get a replay of that, so please bear with us just 2 seconds while we load that up. We're just getting it now on our screens. Let's have a look there as it loads up. I think what may have happened is he pulled out a little bit too quick, a little bit too severely, and the car just got away from him. Let's wait until we can actually see what happens. Here we go. Coming up there. Oh, I see. The car in front has a small stutter. The Porsche reacts to move around it, and then bam, too late, into the wall, big hit, and things go from bad to worse for that number 33 rare endurance car. 16th in class at the moment, really not having a good time of things.
No, they're actually last of all the GTE runners, so really going badly for them. And Nick's gone out to see if he can find out anything from within the paddock, which you would have just seen from Jimmy. And we're still looking at the Rare Endurance team, who are slowly but surely trying to get back to the pit lane, I think. So they're just trying to stay out the way now of anyone else. So big problems for them. Of course, we had big problems for ProSim as well. Lithium have had an off during the ad break. Welcome back to the stage. Nick, what have you found out on your travels?
Well, I've spent the last 5-6 minutes with a really distressed team in the ProSim. A catalogue of problems, which has beget more problems, unfortunately. The initial problem was pit stop. What do you do when you come to a pit stop? Turn the engine off. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, so pulled out of. Sadly, it went pop. So they've got themselves from the lead lap, lost 4 laps through that problem, trying to recover. Obviously, they came back in, started the car up. Wet conditions, found themselves still on dry race setup. Obviously, that caused a problem. Came back around, so obviously Matthew had a couple of errors, problems trying to get himself back round, and now what we talked about driving to a plan has basically become driving to the pit stint, seeing where they are and making decisions like that, which isn't ideal in a long race like this. But the initial problem was indeed, unfortunately, engine problems. As we have a contact between BMW and a P2, the P2 has lost its rear wing just before the 4 chicane. So it looks like the P2...
It's still going on behind us, Nick. I think the GTE tried to come into the pit lane. We're going to have to go to a replay there, because I missed half of that, but I think the P2 in the background was spinning and caught up with another of the GT cars. So just wait for our replay to load up. One of the perks of RF2 is replays take about a year and a half to work.
Here we go. There it is. So...
I really don't know, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go. We'll come back. So it's from here. Oh, the GT car goes well onto the runoff and then comes back on, tags the IRDK car. And I can see people coming towards the race stewards right now. But that's not the end of it. P2 loses its rear wing. Now watch this BMW rejoin. This is appalling by the BMW. What was that? Takes out the McLaren GT3, and that right there, if I've ever seen it, is a big slap on the wrist.
I think... Is that Simtech Pink? That was the other car involved.
It wasn't Simtech Pink, no, but it was another car with a pink livery. But that is one of the worst rejoins I've seen for a very long time, and I've done a couple of bad rejoins myself over the course of my sim racing career. Unfortunately, IRDK really an innocent bystander in all of that. They just kind of were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the BMW caused not 1 but 2 issues there. I think they're even still going round on track right now. We'll have to wait and see. It wasn't the sim racing, the pink car. It wasn't those guys. I'm just basically waiting to see what livery this TGTL car is running. It's not these guys either. So it's quite hard to recognise the cars in this low light situation. I think it might have been. It wasn't the real guys either. I think here's
whatever. We're going to see a lot.
It was the Gap SRT car.
There we go.
Sorry about the run through there, guys. We had to get everybody. But the Gap SRT car causing damage to 2 cars there, and looks like it got off scot-free.
I would imagine race control will probably be a little bit busy in the next few minutes as we have guests coming up to have a little chat. Hopefully we'll find out a little bit more what's going on.
Just having Chris having a quick chat. We'll come back to that when we know if we are going to get him up or not. But yeah, really sad to see that, unfortunately, that rejoin, and we'll have to wait and see what the stewards think of that, of course, and we'll get that soon for you. As soon as we know, you will know. Chris, any update for us, mate?
Oh no, just a simple question. So
okay,
yeah.
We have the IRDK back on track, rear wing re-established. Good work from the pit crew. Let's see what happens regarding. I'm sure there'll be protests going in surrounding that whole catalogue of incidents, but we'll see how they recover. IRDK totally innocent in all that incident there. No blame attached to themselves whatsoever.
Again, those sort of incidents are difficult to say, okay, right, this is now your fault. I'd say going wide, they're losing control of the car. Of course, well, that wasn't intentional, but I always say that you are in control of your own car no matter what. And it's your actions that have led to that incident, so that'll be your slap on the wrist. The second incident, far more clear-cut in my mind. That'll be, for me, probably a big old drive-through penalty. Oh, go on.
The burst has gone wide in the Porsche curves, got offline, probably hit some marbles and went into the left side Armco barriers. Managed to carry on, but I would imagine with that slap, they've got some damage.
We didn't catch
that one, no.
That was your one, Nick. You have to describe that to us in great detail, and you did. Thank you very much, Nick. Of course, we are all working on different screens and different timings here. Unfortunately, we don't have a director for our cameras. We are running through the cameras ourselves, so sometimes we don't all see the same incident at the same time. Nick is making faces. Nick, tell me what
we have again the burst car once more coming in to close contact, I think, again with the P1 car, quite possibly at the Forge again.
Which one?
I'm not sure. Couldn't make it out.
Is it number 15 car? That's the car we've got currently coming to the with a P1 car in front of it at the moment on the satellite car, so it might have been that.
Yep.
It looks like it's in decent enough, Nick, going around okay at the moment. Of course, these BMW M8s are pretty large machines. I'm pretty have to do quite a lot to upset those things, but seems to be all right now. The Burst eSport car, 12th in class, so a 12th out of 16, so probably not where it wants to be right now, but still a very long way to go in this race. In fact, we're actually not too far away, coming up to the 8-hour mark, where myself and the commentary team will be taking a bit of a break and then coming back hopefully for the last 8 hours or so after that.
Yeah,
look at our timing page, but unfortunately,
in other news, yeah, unfortunately,
we've actually got a change of.
There we go. We're back up.
P2, we've actually got Shane Burke, who's back in the car.
Yep,
Simtech has taken over the lead. They've actually got a 42-second lead over Joachim Stansas.
We've missed something
in the
again.
Dirty Hider car. We've missed what that happened, but obviously with the rain and the conditions, there could have been a problem with that. But because of the time gap, it could have quite easily been a pit stop.
You say that, but 42 seconds to have that advantage.
It's 30, yeah.
So they've really pulled away. So something's happened there to the Hyder eSport car. I can't tell you what, unfortunately. We don't have any info on that right now. I'm going to have to assume it's been maybe a spin somewhere, or maybe the fashionable thing at the moment has been penalties, has been a drive-through penalty when trying to come into the pits a little bit too quickly. So maybe that's happened there to the Hyder car, but we'll have to wait for confirmation on that one.
Because they had such a gap, and then obviously it's turned around, and it's in fact +1, 47 now. So we'll have to see how it goes. 46 seconds. So if we can find out from anybody of the Hyder team what actually went on to cause yourselves going down from a quite comfortable lead to 47 seconds and growing in P2 now in class.
Well, another thing, by the way, you probably would have been able to notice it's not been raining for a while. 17% is now the online rain wetness. So just thought we'd bring you the update. Offline, it is 88%, as we've got one of the GT cars making its way into pit lane there.
I'll tell you what, Chris, give us some context about the race line. You have the best laps and the last laps there on your screen. Of course, we only have a 17% race line wetness, but for lap time, and of course, these tyres are a lot slower.
Yep, so Undercover last time they did a 3:35 in comparison to their quickest lap, which is a 3:14. In the P2 class, Simtech did a 3:41 in comparison to a 3:28, which is their fastest. As for the GTE, Real eSport did a 4:06 in comparison to their 3:54 fastest. and in the GT3 class 4:18, they're about 16 seconds off of Via Ducton to their quickest time. So, yep, up top in the P1s, it's around 20 seconds, and down in the GT3s, 16 seconds.
Just goes to show just how much difference a little bit of rain and the wrong compound of tyre will make around here. I think Nick might have spotted something there. You come very quickly to your monitor, Nick.
Yeah, a little problem there for Team RRC. A little off to the right-hand side coming down the Mulsanne. Managed to carry on with no further issue, but I'm not
Which
sure.
Which RRC car, Nick?
77, the P1 car.
We actually have that just in our picture right now. They're just coming out of Indianapolis, actually on the back of a P2 and a GTE car. Now, I think we're going to be seeing a pit stop here from Kinlinett in the RRC car. I did just spot Adam Hodgkinson walking off over to the driver's hall with his gloves on, so that might suggest that he's going to be in the car next. And you see here Kim trying to struggle to get past this P2. The P2s around here are incredibly fast in a straight line, only about 10 k's off the P1 cars, a bit similar to real life in that aspect, really. In fact, actually nowadays the P2 cars are quicker than the P1 cars in the straight line, especially the poor hybrids.
Yeah, and in the hybrid situation now, the P2 cars are really throwing times down. If we look back just a few years ago, the times that the P2s are throwing down on Le Mans would have put them in amongst the P1 class, because it was only 5-6 years ago the times were in the mid 320s, and obviously now they're much higher because of the change of homologation and the rules governing the P1 and P2 class with the hybrids.
They're all very different, of course, but in sim racing we haven't got to worry about the hybrids so much. More raw, naturally aspirated power, I would say. Every time I look away, Nick, and come back to you, you seem to be doing some sort of different face. You're going to have to...
we just had a very innocent GTE car. Obviously, if he'd looked in his rearview mirror, he would have been just totally covered with the P2 headlights, who made a very sharp brake, and fortunately there was no contact. As the Hyder 60 car comes in from 14th overall.
14th overall and second, of course, in GTE, the Hyder esport car. We actually have Kasper Stoltz, one of the standout drivers from last year, in car at the moment. Very fun story about myself and Kasper Stoltz before I came to the GTR 24 last year. We had never really had many kind words to say to each other during racing. In fact, in certain series, I'd called him some nasty names while streaming out of a little bit of anger. But of course, the great thing is you come to these events and that animosity is gone. It all becomes silly internet nonsense, because that's what it is. And you meet each other and you actually find out you're real people and you like each other's company. So all that stuff goes away very quickly, which I think is a very nice thing about this event, because otherwise you get a bit too caught up in silly things online, which you don't like.
I was talking to Kasper on my break, actually, and it's the first time I've been able to sit down and have a good chat with him, and he's a real good guy, and he's offered to come up and have a chat after his stint. We're talking about members of his team and how the car is really set up, and he's quite happy with the way the car is and how quick the team is overall. So I'll hand over to Jimmy. We've got a problem. We've got a car stuck.
We did have the number 11 satellite guy. It looks like it was down at the Mulsanne corner. We're just loading our replay now and shoveling coal into the RF2 furnace. It's not quite doing anything at the moment, though. Waiting just to see. I think it was just a simple loop down at Mulsanne. Here we go. There's a GTE car involved as well. Late on the brakes. Oh, wow. Looks to the inside there. Gets off the line. And guess what's off line? Wet line. The car just loops around. He's tagged by one of the Burst Esport cars for good measure. I think the Burst car was trying to do him a favour and point him in the right way again, but came in a bit too enthusiastically. And unfortunately, the turning circle in these cars is absolutely appalling. So the car had a bit of trouble turning around, but luckily didn't have too much of an issue there. But that satellite racing has been a little bit eventful for them, Nick. Of course, you have a bit of an inside track of those guys, given you're a member of their team. It's been a bit up and down for them so far.
Yeah, started quite strong, obviously, and then ran into a few issues. We've got Matt Stranding piloting that car at the minute in the number 11 satellite. So we can't really say much, seeing as he is the overall team manager. So we'll just have to nod and doff our cap quite politely.
Well, I could say what I like. It might matter.
You can. I can't. No, He'll get himself. He's got a lot of experience, obviously, in the real world and in sim racing. A lot of experience, especially in sim racing. He'll get his head back into gear and get going again. But obviously, it's another incident that satellite number 11 car could have done without, really. At the present time, we've got the 64 satellite up in second with a 3-minute gap to Undercover, who have really pushed on in these conditions.
Yeah, nice guy, Mr. Stroud. I did have a quick chat with him earlier on, and of course, oh hello, McLaren off in the background there. I think spin turning will leave that. I think that was our last place car, the Black Devil Racing car.
Yes,
I think at the moment there. Fortunately, they've just been having a real time of things out there. Still pushing on though, still pushing around. That's what we like to see. But yes, Matt Strand, one of the rare people to take sim racing and go, you know what, let's make races out of these sim races. And he was telling me he had one of these. I think it's actually up here telling us this, wasn't he? Telling us earlier he had some guy put into his team who's only a second a lap off some of the fastest drivers, and the fastest drivers were actually their guys anyway. So that's a sim driver taking with pretty much no prior experience, put it into a race car and just shown that the ability is there. You know.
Yeah. What the thing we have with the satellite team, they had a couple of guys were in the finals, and they had no experience whatsoever going around the Indy road course. So he made them sit down and learn the course using R-Factor to give them the experience to understand the track layout. They went into the cars 1-2. So it does work.
There you go then. And if Matt Strand, I'm sure he isn't listening right now, but if his team was listening, there's a very upcoming British driver. He's getting a bit old now, so please give him a drive very quickly.
long in the tooth. No,
Yeah.
I'm sure, but that's the way it goes. He formed a real world team out of the sim race team, and it's doing really well. And obviously, we've got a couple of cars coming into the game, so you can actually drive the satellite cars very soon, hopefully.
I'm fairly sure they actually have a car in the USF 2000s,
Yeah.
a satellite car in there, or something very similar anyway. Some people saying in the chat that this is a 25-hour race because of the time difference. Actually, no, it's not. We do actually end, I guess we say an hour early. We end at 3 p.m. Because it will be a 24-hour race. We just do the same hour twice at night. And they've actually shut down the on-venue clock here, because I think it gets a bit confused when they try and just carry it over. It's always been a tradition for DTR to happen on this weekend. I don't know why, but it just has been a tradition. Peter says because they get an hour more
For the same price.
Yeah, Peter, the shrewd businessman, there, saying hour more for the same price. Okay, mate.
Oh yeah, you've got to stretch your money as far as you can, and that's one way to do it. Put it on when the summertime. I nearly said British summertime, but obviously we're in Denmark, so it's Central European summertime, isn't it?
I've been looking at the P1 class. There's a lot of pit stops going on there with our 5 teams out. Our race line wetness is down to just 12%. Undercover did come in. I think pretty much all 5 teams. Team RRC are still in the pits. They've been there for quite some time, unless that's my timing not updating, but it's being shown that they're still in the pits, so Team RRC, not too sure.
Chris and the live timing, name a more iconic duo for this event.
I know.
Yeah, they're still in the pits, yeah. But obviously it's a major stop for this one.
Shame for Team RRC. I'm not quite sure. Maybe an issue there of some sort. I know we were going to see Hodge get in the car. Still showing us Kim Bennett right now. So, I was saying that. Sorry, that is just our timing being a little bit of
being our
diva
timing,
again.
basically. Yeah.
Being our timing. Team RRC are running. They are there in the 5th position. I'm not sure there has been a driver change or not. I think the F5 key is going to be worn out on Chris's keyboard by the end of this event. Bless him, but all seems good. We have our capacity audience here still.
Sorry? Oh, talk. Okay. Well, we are at the moment following Team RRC, just coming up to a GT car through the Porsche curves at the moment, in the wet. Not the best of situations, but Let's hope gets round with no such problems.
Decides that discretion is a better part of valor there and stays behind the GT3 car going for nice and wide. And we've seen already, Chris, that there's not much grip out there. That could have been a repeat of the incident we saw already with the Gap car.
Yeah, that was either just over politeness or just making a little bit of a mistake. One of perhaps many that's we're going to witness during the live stream, particularly as we get towards the end. Momentarily, we're going to lose timing, so we're going to have to make do with what we have on screen. We pop back to Satellite Racing. They're in 4th place, the number 11 car, that is. Let's go on board with them, shall we? Having a fairly solid race so far. I don't really get told when we're going to change camera angles. Jimmy just says, right, that's it, we're changing. And I mean, I could be talking about a team, and then he decides, actually, no, you're not going to do that, we're going to go to another car.
In my defence, it's been a while since I've been a cameraman and a broadcaster. I prefer to do just one, really. But it's going okay, I think.
Well, look, Nick's been a runner, he's been a reporter and a commentator. And last time and clearly he's not doing well, because last time we sent you off, you didn't come back with anything. So
I did. I came back and told you the Pro Sim car had blown an engine or two.
Well, you were supposed to come back with someone.
I've asked, but they all won't come, because all the teams that I'm trying to ask, they all seem to be heading into problems. I think this weather is really causing them a headache tactic-wise, and they really want to get all the heads together and work out the best way forward. So I think if it was dry, I think we'd have a lot more teams willing to come up, but this weather has really thrown the cat amongst the pigeons.
Poor pigeons. Well, here is...
Indeed.
Here's your P2 leader. This is someone that has pretty much stayed the same, but they've come back now, back ahead of Shane Burke's piloted Simtech car. On our timing, it still says Simtech is ahead at the moment, so the gap has come down a lot. And then, oh hello, there's the Hyder sister car there.
That's a problem.
Facing kind of sideways. They're coming out of Tete Rouge. I think that must have been a spin. I don't think there was much damage to the car. Seems to be pulling away again. But otherwise, the Hyder car was actually sideways. We'll see if we can get a replay on that. Are they damaged? That is the question. Let's have a look. We'll go back down the field.
Yep, well, so Jimmy's going to keep that. Oh, there we go. Pro Sim off.
Pro Sim again in the wall.
That's probably the replay we want to see more than anything. Pro Sim.
I think that's the Indianapolis. That is at Indianapolis. I think what's happened there is they've locked up and gone off, and they've found themselves beached in the gravel. Everyone's starting to go a little bit silly now, I think, as we get into the nearly towards the midway of this race. We'll see if we can get a replay on that. It will take a couple of seconds to load, unfortunately, given that RF2 is currently low on coal and Chris is frantically shoveling. But my guess is he just got onto the wet line coming into Indy, locked a brake and just ended up with the tractors down the escape road. Here we go. We'll just go back in time using our time machine. Great to have a time machine on track here. And gets onto the wet line, and guess what? Your brakes don't work there, sunshine. Off he goes, and that's really hard into the wall. I will be surprised.
And he tried to just keep going.
Yeah, that's not good for these guys. Again, window menu, no thank you.
Luckily,
right.
I was going to say I thought he'd actually missed the tyre wall. He's in problems there, isn't he? Obviously, the handling's been affected. Has it got suspension damage? It could be a long stop for this one.
He's not coming in.
Not coming in. So
nope.
Yeah, he's going to obviously try and see if he can carry on without too much time loss. Obviously, if the time loss does become an issue, or the turning circle of the car reduces more, they'll have to come in at this next stop. But he's having a look to see if he can actually drive.
Well, he's still going strong, which is good to see, even after a trip to the wall. It's not been a nice half hour or so for the Pro Sim guys. Things have just gone from bad to worse, it seems. Here is a team that is doing a little bit better. It's the Simtech Motorsport guys up into second position right now. Shane Burke in the car at the moment. We did have him on stage earlier. Unfortunately, we missed half the interview because our internet went down. We'll have to try and get another one of the Simtech guys up here at some point. Probably be some point tomorrow now, given that we aren't too far away for ending our broadcast for the night. The stream will still be up. We'll just be having a little nap up in our Pent Suite up there.
Yeah.
Penthouse Suite.
It's got lots going on up there.
Great views. I mean, what other hotel room can you say you can see about 100 men out of each window? I mean,
Yeah, I didn't know that came with the service.
Well,
there's more people
sleeping. Biscuits.
Well, there's more people sleeping in there than there is chairs. So there's quite a lot going on in there.
very cosy up there. So that's the best thing I can say. I think what we should probably do before we get into the hour ourselves is have a quick run through
the timing screen that's behind.
Okay, right. I'll shut up. We were gonna have a run through the top 3 in each class. We're gonna have to wait for that, I'm afraid, because right now we don't have any timing again. Shame. So Nick, we're getting into the proper night hours now. I've been in this position. I'm sure you have been as well. You go, oh man, we've been racing for ages and ages. You look up at the clock and you see, oh, we've been racing for 8 hours, but there are still
16 hours to go.
still 16 hours left. What? How do you kind of get past that mental block? I know a lot of people just focus on lap time, but sometimes the mind does wander.
Yeah, I can talk from my experience, especially the event that I ran back in June. My stint was due to come to an end at 7 a.m. Sorry, and I was gonna jump out the car. So my final stints were gonna be through the night. Hand over to the 2 guys who were having a sleep at the time, but unfortunately that didn't turn out, and I had to jump back in the car with about 3 hours to go. So obviously my head was still tired, obviously, because I'd done the concentration level at night time is really intense, really high. So I found when I went back into the car, even through the daylight, taking it to the checkered flag, I really struggled. My time dropped off a bit, so I had a target time and I kept to it. And fortunately we ended up on the podium, but it could have been a lot more, but I didn't expect to get back in the car. But night time, I was drained when I finished my stint. Hit the shower, try to regroup, and but it's the concentration level is absolutely immense, and it's one of the tough stints. It can make or break a race, in fact, and many times the cars have come through with a great stint through the night, and they put themselves in with a great chance. We had a spinner there, it looked like Undercover, hit the inside barrier on the left-hand side. Luckily, the following car managed to pass them through on the right as they were spinning, and managed to carry on, but it looked like the Undercover GT car span on the second left-hand turn within Porsche curves.
You gotta tell me it's a GT car. I went straight to the P1 leader. Like, oh no, the leader's gone round. Undercover at the spin. I'm like, oh no, what's going on? It's the GT car.
I could see where that was going as well. I just decided not to say anything that time. I was like, I know that's going to be the GT car. But
he comes into the pits now to assume, or saying that he comes into the pits. He takes his own line into the pits, which takes a little bit of gravel. I think maybe trying to get a bit more ballast in the car, a bit more gravel in there, not really working the way he said. But yeah, as Nick was saying, it can be a little bit tricky in these conditions, especially when it's a bit wet offline as well. You make a mistake and it's just compounded by the wet weather. Pro-Sim into the pits again.
Yeah, looks like they've got problems. The Undercover GT's in as well, but obviously you've got the nighttime conditions, which are in themselves pretty tough going. But then to have a drying track, initially we had a really wet track with rain still coming down, and now we're in the conditions where it's drying. You're coming up to overtake a car if you're in the P1 or P2, and you've got to contend with the heavier offline conditions. So you've got to be really careful where you choose to overtake. As we see, it's Hyder coming in as well from first down to second as they come into the pits, stopping a little bit off their marks. Obviously the conditions in the pit are a little trickier than online, so a lot of cars coming in, obviously slower pace, so able to do longer stints, in fact.
Yep, not a bad idea doing that. And here is someone who's had a good run of things so far. Currently, Lasse Sorensen, or it was Lasse Sorensen the last time we checked on our timing anyway, when it was live, in the 919 Real Esport car, one of the 2 Real Esport cars that have taken to this event. The 911, unfortunately, had a couple of issues earlier on. and now a bit further down the order, you can see the M8 in that very actually quite light delivery on the M6. So what are you looking at there?
Oh, sorry, we're not looking at the real esport car, but yeah, worth noting.
Well,
that's what we looking at. That's what we are looking at, just in case you're getting confused on stream.
Well, we were looking at that, of course. We have some sort of mild direction under that, but the real esport car, the 919 car, is now heading down to the Porsche curves. We're still looking at the pit exit right now. A couple of cars coming out of there. That's the Hyder car coming out there from, I think it's still in the lead in the P2 class. I would love to tell you if it was or not, but unfortunately we cannot at this stage.
Yes, we can. We've got timing back. There we go.
Oh, there you go. Okay, Chris, give us a rundown of the top 3 in each class. Go.
Well, okay. okay. Quickly. Undercover Simracing leading the way by 4 minutes and 23 seconds from Endurance Racing. Satellite Racing are third. 132 laps completed by them, and Undercover Simracing going along very quickly at the moment. 3 minutes 26 for them last time, in comparison to a 3:27 for Endurance. In the P2 class, it is SimTech Motorsport leading the way. Shane Burke in the rig at the moment. Then we have Hyder Esport in second. They are over 1 minute and 20 seconds back from them. Rare Endurance team are third. They're about 25 seconds back from Hyder at the moment. As for the GTE class, it is Real Esport leading the way. That's the 919 car. Of course, the 911 hit some big problems, which we heard about in an interview earlier. Hyder Esport second in that class, and then we have Burst Esport next along. GT3's Viaducten leading the way from former leaders ID Simsports. Then we have B32 Racing, who of course were fighting for the lead, were leading, and then had a bit of an incident which saw them having to come back to the pits. That is your top 3 in all 4 classes as we now approach let's see, 475 minutes completed of this race.
A few minutes gone by now. Of course, we've been up here for the majority of it, but our time on stage is nearing an end at the moment. We're going to be taking a very well-needed rest break for us guys up here in the comms. Of course, we have to have breaks too. Unfortunately, our voices don't last forever. I guess standout things for myself so far. Again, hard to look past Undercover Simracing with a fantastic comeback after technical issues early on. The fight between SimTech and Hyder, I see that going on into the night. SimTech, of course, looking to take a class win after their overall win last year, and Real Esport with Lasse Sorensen at the wheel, still looking dominant in the GTE class, and I'm sure their sister car will be happy to join them. So I think that's a good note for us to round off on, guys. Anything before we leave these guys with the night stint?
Well, it's been very interesting race so far. I think very eventful. It feels like 476 minutes has gone by fairly quickly. It looks like Lithium may have another problem, actually. They yellow flag coming up in Sector 2. But yeah, it's been an eventful race so far. Of course, we had the rain. I'd say that's probably been the highlight for me, when the heavens opened and it was chaos, to say the least. And then it stopped, and then it happened again. Who knows what we're going to wake up to? That's always the interesting thing from doing this job, when you do take a sleep break and then you wake up and everything's changed and the GT3 cars are leading overall, and you think, how did that happen? But no, we will wake up to, I'm sure, a interesting situation